Talk to me a little bit, because I'm sure people want to know, like working with Phil, he seems to be pretty receptive. Like he wants to know. He's got a curiosity around equipment, which is kind of fun to talk to. But you've worked with him and got clubs in his bag. So like, what's that experience like?
I was the Odyssey rep for 5 years, starting in 2011. So my first kind of intro to PGA Tour and Phil was more on the Odyssey side. And I had one really good thing working for me in my favor. Like I was starstruck with Phil. I loved, like, even before working for Callaway, I was the biggest Phil fan. So Jimmy Mackay, Bones, his longtime caddy, is from my hometown. And when I was a kid, he was my babysitter. So
holy shit. Okay, Fully Equipped, episode 310. Fun show today. So we have the man, the myth.
That's the man. Jake.
And the legend, Johnny Thompson of Callaway Golf on the show. JT, damn it, welcome to the show.
Heck of an intro. What a night. I tell you what, that's probably the nicest things ever been said about me all in one intro. That was amazing.
It's well deserved. Well deserved.
Well, we try to butter you up. Yeah, we'll try to butter you up right out of the gate just to get you,
before you burn me down.
The vibes in a good spot. Yeah. So, and Mr. Morrow, how are you? Morrow's on the road in some random hotel somewhere. Jake, how are you over there, little guy? What's happening? What do you got going on?
I'm good. I'm not quite sure where I'm at the moment either. So it's just one of those moments in time where eventually I will be back where I need to be, and yeah, we're good though. We're getting things done.
Well, here's the funny thing, and I never thought the three of us would be on this on a podcast like this, but we are all relatively in the same kind of job, and I couldn't say that about JT a year ago.
Yeah,
but now he's one of us. Yeah. So let's just get right. Let's just, instead of burying the lead, let's just get right into what's going on with JT. So you were a very successful PGA Tour rep, Champions Tour rep for Callaway Golf. Now you are the tour content manager of Callaway Golf. What the hell? Like, give us a vibe check. How are you? How's your soul? How's your everything? I want to know everything.
Well, I mean, the shoe size left by my predecessor, didn't make this an easy transition. I have a lot to live up for. I got to live up to. So, yeah, a little bit. I think it's good. It's going well, all things considered. I mean, I guess the easiest thing for Callaway to do is just to put in a new Johnny, make it nice and simple. But no, it's been fun, man. And you and even Jake, like, you guys have been great help to me because I'm learning so many new things about a business that I kind of had a pretty good grasp of how things worked from the tour side and equipment side, and now trying to learn this new trade of bringing these messages to the people through social media. It's been fun. I'm sure the people that I work around, Aaron and Alex and those guys, probably I'd love to know what they really say to themselves when I ask them the questions I ask, because I'm like, God, this guy's an idiot. But I'm trying to learn and having fun, and it's been cool, like meeting. Like I've worked around the similar group of dudes for a long time. Whether it's PGA Tour players, other support, and the team, our Callaway team on the PGA Tour. It's been really fun, like getting to know some new people and some really cool people. I've been so thoroughly impressed with some of our influencers that, was familiar with, but not really, like, didn't know a lot about them. And I've just been super impressed with some of them as people, as golfers, and just, getting to work with some of them has been a blast.
The funny thing is like, say 6 years ago, for argument's sake, say like 2019, 2020, the name of a tour rep was not a thing, right? Chris Trott was the first person that kind of raised his hand and said, I'm a tour rep, I work in a truck, and this is kind of what happens on a truck, right? He was the first kind of person to do that. But as far as tour truck culture was like you guys were unpublicized individuals, meaning like you were on the range, nobody really knew your name, your face, and then maybe they recognized you if they had been to an event live. But in social media, you weren't, you didn't publicize yourselves or publicize exactly what you did. Now, thanks to idiots like me and Trot and a couple others, we've created, there's a whole ecosystem around you guys now, right? Everybody knows who Johnny Thompson is as a content creator and as a fitter. Everybody, Kellen Watson, who would have never come out of the shadows. People know that name because of podcasts and social media. Adrian Rietfeld, all these fitters. So like, I guess the question I'm going to ask you is it still culture shock? Like holy shit! Like I spent 20 years not talking about who I was or what I did, and now it's part of my job. And even furthermore, it is my job now is to tell the stories around the guys that we never talked about. Is it? I never asked you guys that. Is it weird?
I wouldn't label it as weird. It's definitely different. I've enjoyed it because like I actually it's so funny. My degree is in broadcast communications. And so like when this thing whole came out, like I was just laughing. I'm like, 20 years later, I'm actually using my degree for the first time. So like I always enjoyed like in high school, like TV productions was like my favorite classes. And then getting into school and going through like the communications and program and, kind of zeroing in on the broadcasting side. I enjoyed that. I thought it was fun. Like it didn't feel like school. It was like doing projects and stuff like that. I thought like editing, I thought was really fun. And it was way easier back then because you just pretty much didn't have anything to work with. It was very simple. Now trying to learn, 20 years later, editing on a phone, like all the things you can do, it's like my mind's blown because of just ridiculous. You basically can create a movie on your iPhone, which is bizarre. But it's been fun because I feel like I'm doing something that I was very, very slightly familiar with. It's just kind of coming out of, getting comfortable in front of cameras and, like when I've done a couple pieces with the Golf Channel, I mean, it's like I'm on the first tee of a tournament, I'm like, I get so tight, so nervous and like start messing up and then it just snowballs, it's like,
right.
Those have been tough, but like the shoots that we've done with Callaway and with our team, like great, like I'm much more relaxed and, they've been great in giving me, I told them like, you can't hurt my feelings. Like if this is terrible, just say, please stop and like, tell me why. And I'll like, you can't hurt my feelings. And so they've been awesome helping me try to like, find my little groove with like the product videos and some of the work with influencers. And I mean, I've had a lot of fun and I think it's been, it was, I didn't realize it at the time when this all came about. It's coming off now. It feels like it was a well-timed, little shift in career. So I've really almost like a rebirthing of my career because it's just such a new track, and I'm like feel like I'm starting at square one.
Well, you're. I'm sure Jake, you got some questions. I got one more thing to add. You're actually lucky because you walked in with Alex Upegi as your boss, right? Like I had New Barth, so. Two totally different. You want to talk about, don't worry about hurting my feelings. Like the guy doesn't give a fuck about hurting anybody's feelings. So like, and not only that, there was no foreplay to my job. Like, they hired me in January, whatever, in 2021. And I remember, like, I have to share this story because it's the most New Barth story ever. So at the time, when it all went down, there was like TaylorMade, Callaway, Cobra, like all these companies. I had opportunities to kind of go where I wanted. And New Barth being New Barth got very, very aggressive. And he finally got it to the point where it's like, if I do this, will you say yes? And I'm like, yes. So literally 20 minutes later, I'm assuming he called Nick McAnally and said, if we do this for this guy, he'll say yes and we'll do it. So he hired me. So he got it done. And on that Friday night, I still saved the text. He's like, okay, good. You're going to sign this paperwork. And on Monday, you're going to call everybody that was chasing you. And you're going to call WRX and tell everybody to fuck off. And I go, okay, like, here we go. So, and that was it. Like, so it was on. And so, we had a month and a half of like ramping up. Like the content shoot was my first day at the yards. And my first video, it was like my first video or second video on day one was Phil Mickelson. And it wasn't like Jeff prepped me for it. It wasn't like he said, okay, this is what you're going to do. And these are the camera guys and this and that. It was like I showed up. I was drinking a cup of coffee. I got radioed to get to the 10th tee. I fly out to the 10th tee. Jeff's out there doing new bar stuff. And he goes, okay, there's Phil. You're you. Here's his bag. He's taking shots for Odyssey right now. He's going to come over. You're going to do what's in the bag. And I'm like, and literally 15 seconds later, here comes Phil, like in full Phil mode. You know, I've never talked to him in my life. I don't know half of these fucking people that are on set. I have no idea. And to talk to you about getting tight, he goes, okay, what's in the bag? With Phil and Johnny, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay, cameras are rolling. And I'm like, I'm having a spiritual, mental, physical breakdown on camera. And luckily I was able to sort of fart out a question. And I had no saliva in my mouth. And he was a perfect guy because I asked him and I've said this before, I asked him like a 2-second question and Phil gave me like a 45-minute answer. And and I was like, oh, thank God, I forgot this guy loves talking. But if you watch that video, if you can see behind my eyes, I'm like, not only am I fired, I'm not going to make it past day one. I'm having a career meltdown in front of Phil Mickelson, who's like a god to me. And this is it. That's all I was thinking. This is it. Like, it's over. Like, this whole thing is gone.
And now all those guys that Jeff told you to call and tell them to F off, you got to call them back and say, hey, man, I was just kidding.
No worries. Yeah, just kidding. Yeah.
Those first,
anyway,
the lead up into your
Dave.
job at Callaway, Johnny, sounds very similar to somebody else's lead into a recent job working for somebody that might be in that story as well.
Yeah.
There's some parallels there.
There's a lot of synergy here. Yeah, for sure.
There's some parallels.
Phil's
there,
the best guy, man. Phil. So I had kind of like similar to you, Johnny, as I think my last week on the tee was PGA National Cognizant, and then hung it up as a tee rep on Wednesday, and then Thursday had that shoot with Josh Kelly. Going through the different elite triple diamond drivers, and then Akshay with the mini driver. And just like right the first thing, 8:00, I'm standing there with a mic on in front of the cameras, and they're like, all right, like, we're going to do this video with Josh.
Do your thing, dude.
Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And it was
what's
funny.
My thing? Yeah.
Like I couldn't have asked for two better people for me to like kind of break in with, because Josh is like the nicest, easiest dude to work with. And
he's cool.
Great at golf. And then Akshay's like my boy. So that was just like he and I just hanging out on the tee, just working through equipment, and it just happened to be being documented through camera. But then the week, I think, 2 weeks later was our super shoot. And so I got I think I was 2 weeks in and had that super shoot, and I couldn't believe how many videos we pumped out that, 2 days or whatever it was. It was eye-opening, and it was probably a great way to start, because it was like just thrown out, tons of videos, tons of work, tons of different people. But it was easy on the tour guy side, because it's just, 2 weeks before I was, building equipment and fitting equipment to these guys. So that made it a lot easier.
Well, yeah, and I told you this because you and I talk a lot, and I was like, the interesting thing with you stepping into this role, especially once you really get your feet under you, just the job itself, but you have a one-of-one experience, meaning like you're the only guy in that function right now that has 20 years of working with these players. So like you have insider knowledge that nobody, even on my best day, I couldn't answer. I couldn't draw back and go, remember 2 years ago when we did this? So I think, as you go along and you really start to get, because it takes a minute. It's not something you just snap your fingers and go, I got this, right? You got to find your voice and find your footing. And I think what's going to come out of you eventually, once you really start to get comfortable and so kind of own the camera, I think, as far as behind the scenes, inside baseball stuff that you can offer, I think that's when you're really going to be like, okay, this is like, I'm going to run as fast as anybody in the world right now. But it's hard to get there. It takes reps to get there.
Yeah.
But I can say this, and Jake, and I both said the same thing. You're like, we think you're doing a phenomenal job. Like, an unbelievable job. Shoes or no shoes. And I told you this when you left. I'm like, don't worry about filling my shoes. Like, just go create some new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got thrown into a heck of a corral too, because like one of Callaway's superpowers is their creator staff and their influencer staff and how deep that staff runs, right? And they've made a couple additions this year. They also have a pretty huge like secondary team, right? Like they got a pretty deep bench too, because there's a bunch of people that are Callaway athletes that are not necessarily in the Callaway limelight all the time, but you've got guys like Dalton or Chendo or some of the smaller, contracts that come up. And then you have like Josh Kelly and you've got the good boys, obviously. And, there's like Gabby Golf Girls now with Callaway. So like you guys have you got a pretty good starting five and you also got a pretty deep bench, which is nice. But for you, I mean, what's been the biggest difference that you've seen, not necessarily in like how you have to talk to them, but just in the way that things are communicated through equipment with like like that, not Sean or Brad, because obviously they get it. But when you're comparing a tour player to talking to like Dalton or talking to, Chendo, like what do those differences look
Yeah.
like?
It's honestly very similar to what it was, working with tour players all over these years, because everybody's personality is different. And, you'd have players like, Akshay or Max Grazerman that, really, when you're working with them and you're making changes, like they kind of want to know what that change is, why it does what it does, kind of the physics side of things. When it would come out with new equipment, they have probably more in-depth questions compared to some others on terms of like CG locations and, mass properties of a golf club. And then you have, somebody on the other side, like like Eric Van Rooyen, was just like, dude, I want to hit it straight and I want to hit it far. I don't care how you get there. Let's just get there together. And, he doesn't require all that kind of deeper talk. He just wants the performance, and he puts a lot of faith in the T reps. And, when it was, I was doing a lot of his work, like it was a lot of faith in me to just kind of work through it. And he didn't need to know everything about it. And I've seen a lot of that in the influencers too. Cause I know you said like Brad and Sean, like you get into some players that are still like competing on, a very professional level. They might require a little bit more in-depth when it comes to fitting, or even just like the explanation of why this club will work. Like they might have a issue in the bag and say, hey, like I want to send this. And, you're going to need to tell them why, and why from a mass property place, or just, from a golf, like a performance state, where others, like if Bob calls from Bob Does Sports and it's just like, hey, I want to send you something because I think you might be able to actually like hit this better. And he's like, great, yeah,
Yeah.
sweet, let's do it. And
Yeah.
so it's very similar, because it's really comes down to each person's personality and kind of how they take in information to like, buy in. Everybody's different, and I've seen the same thing with the influencers as well.
Has anybody stepped
go
up
ahead,
and
go
like
ahead.
really surprised you? Like, has anybody stepped onto a shoot and you were like, they started asking questions and you kind of looked at them like, oh damn, like we're gonna go deeper than I thought we were gonna go.
Not so much, but what I will say has surprised me is the level of golf some of these guys and gals can play. That I know through, some of them get ripped on through like, the magic of editing and blah, 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 blah. Like I've watched enough golf from Kalen Henderson and Josh Kelly and Roger Steele. Like they are so much better than I even realized once I started working with them and seeing them actually play golf. Like they're great golfers. And I don't think they always get like the recognition that they do as players. But I would, if I'm going to play in a golf tournament, I would take those three on my team any day.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, they have. It's funny, like as far as the gearheads of that group, and I'm gonna call like Walsh is a gearhead. Like Walsh pays close attention to what's going on because he's a professional golfer at heart. Like Fat Nick Stubbe, aka Fat Perez. Fat Perez knows gear. Like he understands what works for him. So like he's not like Bob, where you can hand him a club and go, "Hey, dude, you're gonna hit this great." Like he knows what it needs to do to make it work. But the one that I think, and I'm excited, and I don't think you've done anything with him yet, that can really ball is Chance Taylor. So,
dude, I can't wait to meet this guy. And
we've traded,
dude, I told him, I was like, man, because I'm raised in Florida, but I was actually born in West Virginia, and like all my dad's side of the family is from West Virginia. So like he's like he pulls at my heartstrings, like my hillbilly heartstrings. I'm like, I love this guy. Dude, he's like
He's my
everything. The golf
favorite.
course he plays, like it reminds me of courses up in West Virginia that I, would go up there in the summers and spend a lot of time up there, and it reminds me of places that I used to play up there. And I'm like, this, I can't wait to
Yeah,
meet this dude.
he's
Yeah,
my favorite. So I discovered him not for the world, but for Callaway, 2 years ago or whatever, 2.5 years ago. I started following him on TikTok, and I'm like, who is this guy? And I reached out to him through TikTok. I'm like, dude, you're unbelievable. Like, I'm all in on this thing. And he's not only a great player, and he can ball, like he can go into any golf course and shoot a score, but he's so unique. Like everything about him is West Virginia. Like, he'll roll up. The first thing he does when he gets out of his truck, he puts four fingers of skull on his lip. He'll pop two Zens up top. Like
God bless him.
nicotine hunting, bow hunting, cowboy
Yeah,
boots, torn I mean, and then you watch him hit the golf ball, and you're like, this guy can ball too. Like he can really play.
yeah,
So, he's a little handicapped because he doesn't love to fly. So he's not as if he was comfortable traveling like the rest of them, he would be, in my opinion, he'd be one of the top one or two creators out there. Like his numbers
yeah,
would be through the roof. Like he just doesn't, he just had a kid, and he's just not, his life isn't situated that way. But I can't wait till you get your hands on this guy. I remember we were at it was November 4th of last year. So remember when it was election night, we were all around our phones, seeing if Trump won or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
going the whole thing. But he's out there hitting balls, and Burns shows up. And Burns could give, and I'll speak for him, he doesn't follow YouTubers. Like YouTubers, like he doesn't, it's not his world. Like he didn't care. He locked eyes. He saw Chance hit it, and Chance has got like a hunting t-shirt on and like cut off shorts and some like hunting boots. And Sam looked at him and locked eyes on him. He's like, what is that? I want to hit balls next to that. I need to know, who is this guy? And I
yeah,
introduced him, and it was kind of like two MMA fighters meeting at a Target, kind of like the acknowledgement of like, yeah, dude. Yeah.
yeah.
I know you. Yeah. It was,
Just,
I
just
wish I would have caught it
respect,
on camera. It
mutual
was
respect.
unbelievable. Yeah. It was unbelievable. So let me ask you this. As far as, going into next year, and we know Jake and I have obviously seen the new product, and it's really exciting. And,
Mm-hmm.
how are you adjusting to, we'll call it your first full
Yeah,
launch cadence of videos that you have to do? Because you're doing it
yeah,
now. Like in the next 2 months is like when you're on call. Like you're doing video after video. So talk to me about that.
yeah. So now, the week, it's like the third week in November. I'm out there for a week, and we're gonna be just nonstop shooting for
Yeah.
all the 26 product videos. I'm actually more excited for this. Well, one, because I have a little bit more idea of how it's going to look, kind of what's expected, what it looks like after it's finished and polished through editing. And so it makes me a little bit more comfortable knowing all that. But coming into like a fresh product launch versus when I started in March, like you had already done all the elite videos and everything. And, on tour, we kind of, when we get new product, we immediately start thinking about like when we sit through our tour meetings and they're presenting the driver lineup, for example, for the next year. Like we're listening to what they say, but we're also like immediately saying, okay, that driver based off of what they just told us, like that's an Emmy, that's a Svensson and a
Kevin
Mac
Yu,
driver
whoever. Yeah.
option. Yeah. And
Right.
you start like compartmentalizing like these drivers and the players they fit. And whereas now, like I find myself, I'm like, man, I got to know a lot more about this stuff because it's the general questions on, in social media that we get asked. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know, because I have to go look.
Yeah.
I have to ask. But like, if a tour player, like they rarely could ask me a question that I couldn't answer. But it's blown my mind, like at retail, like some of the questions that guys have or gals have, and in the comment section, I'm like, I have to ask somebody else. I don't know. Like it's so that part's been funny, but what I've found is like now building into these launch videos, like already started to like, I'm doing my homework on that stuff, so it'll be a lot easier. But just kind of like understanding what people at like consumers want to know versus like tour players is a little bit different. And believe it or not, like the majority of consumers want to know more about a driver than a tour player would. They just want to know like, hey,
why the hell it's not
hit my pull
left-handed
fade with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
God. Dude, is everybody in the comment section left-handed? That's all I want. Like, I cannot get over.
Yes.
They're left-handed.
I
They have no purchasing power. Yeah.
Oh, man, I mean, I feel bad.
So
but I'm like, I feel your pain, but
don't.
I would get DMs, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. I would get DMs of people absolutely pissed off that we didn't make this special tour part. Like I remember I posted a picture of I don't know, Rombo's Triple Diamond T fairway woods or something like that, right? And we're not selling them. They're not for everybody. They're for John Rahm. Like, and the argument can be made, like he deserves his own special golf club. He's John Rahm. So then I posted a picture on it, and a guy DM'd me and said, first of all, I hate that I had to go to eBay to get this fairway wood. And second of all, you guys don't carry this in left-handed. It's an absolute joke. And I'm like, wait a second. Let me just get this straight. Hold on. You're mad at me because the one-off fairway wood that we make for a right-hander, number 2 ranked player in the world.
Yeah.
You're mad that you have to go to eBay to buy it, and you're also mad that I don't make it left-handed. Is that just so I'm clear? He's like, yeah, it's just BS. Like you guys are such clowns, and I'm like, I'm just laughing. I don't have an answer for you. This is amazing.
I mean, I get it. Like if you're a left-hander, like I get it. Like you don't have all the options that right-handed players do, but I mean, like you're still like we're running a business. Like you gotta like be able to.
People don't realize
money
every time you sell a left-handed product, you lose money. Like, like you're selling left-handed product at a loss because it's impossible to make the same amount of it as the right-handed stuff. Plus, you already paid. Like people always think too. They're like, well, they can just mirror the stuff in the program. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Like it's not.
That's not how it works.
It's totally a completely different design. Like it's its own tooling, it's its own design, it's its own manufacturing. And all of you that complain, and I say all the time, I'm like, if every left-hander that left a comment asking if it was left-handed actually bought a golf club, there'd be tons of left-handed product available.
100%.
I mean, I'm sympathetic, but that's the one thing that, having to be involved with, answering questions in the comments. I'm just like, man, I've just been blown away by how many people are angry at Callaway.
How'd you like all the try-hot comments?
What's that?
How'd you like all the try-hot comments? Because there's obviously people want to complain about Zero Torque. People want to complain about Lab. People want to complain about the look. People want to complain about the CG. People want to complain about the shaft.
The price.
And then people want to complain about the price. Yeah.
Dude, that's square to square try hot. The amount of tech that's involved and for them to get that putter to not have shaft lean and not have onset and to be in a sense like a traditional center shaft setup, like it required expensive raw materials, that just alone cost a lot. 151 grams of tungsten is very expensive, and then shaping it into a something that can house an insert, like it's expensive. Like we didn't expect everybody to run out and buy square to square trial. We understand, but it's a premium product and it works. We hope that they can see that, and I tell people, it's like, hey, you're going to make more putts. It means you're going to cash a few more skins, but win a few more bets. It's all going to hash it. It's all going to even out.
So it's all a wash in the end.
Go putt better, beat your buddies, collect more money, and it's a wash.
And you also don't have to buy it. That's what I always know. You don't have to go to. You don't. Yeah. We're not. It's not like it's
your wallet
or like school tuition. You don't have to pay it. It's not like you're not going to die if you don't buy it. You're not missing out on life if you don't have it. Like you can admire it from afar and congratulate the people that can go buy it. All right, I want to pivot to something, and I've actually never been able to do this on this show, but I think it'd be fun with you. I'm going to name some players that I know you've worked with, and I want you to just give us a good story on each player, like something that pops to mind. So I'm going to give you an easy one first. We're going to go to Akshay.
Okay.
Give us an Akshay something. Anything.
All right. Akshay. Oh man. Obviously like something like equipment related. I would assume.
Whatever. I mean,
Anything.
he's unique in many, many different ways. But yes, yeah. Like, let me ask you this.
Okay, I got a good one for you.
Okay, go.
No, I don't want to see. I don't want to cross any personal lines here. No, I'm not saying. I'm not telling that one. Oh goodness gracious. All right, hold on. We might have to cut in the video here as I think.
We're good.
I'm trying to think of
Can you
one
talk
that's
about how a
like-
human being can cut across the ball that much and it still goes straight? Like, what does that testing process with him look like? Because that driver is a wild setup for a man that has that path.
Yeah, it is, because you would think, to have something that's like in a sense, like low spinning draw bias with a start right profile. But it matches up well for him just because of what him and his coach work on with face angle and path, and just kind of, he wants to see the ball moving a lot. It's almost like Bubba in a sense, where like straight is just so he likes to see the ball curving, and you give him something that's got any neutral to start left bias in it or fade bias, it just gets too wipey. So it's like he's kind of like Norin in a sense, where like he's a cutter that uses that uprightness and draw bias to sort of negate the amount of in a sense it's glancing. So it just kind of helps him not have to glance it as hard to pull it right. If you gave Akshay a fade bias driver like a triple diamond, he will swing it. By the time he grooves it, he's swinging 10 to 12 right. And now you're losing ball speed because the amount of the face has to be open, and it's essentially a glancing blow, where his sweet spot is more like 4 to 6, but when he's under pressure, he's going to 8 right. That's kind of his comfort zone. So it's a tough fit, because you gotta you have to know that where he wants to be, and where if he's on the 72nd hole and needs to hit the fairway, where that swing's gonna go, you got to kind of fit it in between there. Because like the perfect driver for him at like 4 right is not going to be good when he gets under the gun and wants to really aim right and kind of cut one.
Yeah.
That same driver is not going to be as good. So it's finding that median that kind of fits both of those. I'm still trying to think of a story though, like, because Akshay has funny ones, but I'm trying to think of one that's like. Oh my gosh, this should be easier, but well, okay, I'll tell you one. All right, so at Valspar, like 2 or 3 years ago, leading into that week, he sends me a text, and it's a screenshot from like GolfWorks or something, or maybe it was like a USGA conforming list. Like I think it was a GolfWorks post. It was when we made this 2-wood for Phil, and I was just laughing because we just came out with a mini driver, or maybe we didn't have it in left-handed yet. So even Akshay guys at home, like even Akshay deals with this too. So he saw that, somehow Googled it and sent it to me, and I was like, that thing's like, we made that like 6 years ago. But I'll see if we can find some. Like, we'll see if there's a couple back at the office, and sure as could be, found like 2 of them and had them shipped out. And at Valspar, gosh, I guess it would have been this year, it randomly shows up, and it was almost in line with when we had just shot this mini driver with a elite mini driver video, and I watched him play, 9 holes, 9 or 18. I can't remember. We played. Yeah, it was 18. He hit this mini D so good. It was so perfect, that day. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like, we just shot this cool video. He loves it. We got Augusta coming up. And then like a couple weeks before, like randomly that video's coming out and he shows up with this Phil prototype that I got him like a year. And he's like, dude, I love this thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
are you trying to kill like my first like 3 weeks on the job? Like,
Yeah.
come on, dude. But, he had his reasons why that thing was, for him was performing a little bit better. And, it sometimes comes up. He sometimes will play the elite triple diamond. But yeah, that was a funny one just because when I was a T rep, it was just, making sure like if there was an option out there for him sort of in that new like mini driver, like we found it. But then it kind of came back and haunted me when we like shot that video. It was like a cool video and I loved it. I was proud of it. It was like the first day on the job that we shot it too. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then literally like 3 weeks later, we're like a week or two out from launching that video. This, old Phil 2 Plus prototype comes back out and he wants to use it. I'm like, oh my God.
That club was so, because I think they made that right after the PGA in 2021, because he had that TaylorMade one that he won the PGA with, that he had sharpied black or painted black to cover up, the TaylorMade logos on it or whatever. And I remember we were at ECPC and they had a couple prototypes for Phil, and they had a couple of right-handed ones, because I have a right-handed one, and these things don't spin. Like, they don't spin at all. Like, that particular head, I don't know how much you remember about it, but it was like, if you wanted to hit
super
like
low loft too. They were like 10 and 11 degrees.
Yeah. Right, and it didn't spin. I mean, you're getting like 1,200 spin out of this thing. I mean, the weight was way forward. Anyway, long story longer, he had sent me a picture at like some tournament. I want to say it was like the next year. He was at maybe it was a year after, maybe 2023. I forget what it was, but he sent me a picture from the locker room. He goes, "Look what I got my hands on," and it was that Phil head. And I think he had, like, to your point, JT, I think he'd saw it on WRX, or somebody had posted a picture of it, because I couldn't, because I would have gotten my head cut off. But somebody had posted a picture online, and he saw it. So the funny thing that I've noticed, and JT know this a lot more, but like Akshay is a gearhead until it's something that needs to land in his bag. Like, he will try a lot of stuff. Like, he'll go through it and he'll try different sets of irons and this and that. But to get stuff into that kid's bag that actually works and stays there is quite a challenge, which kind of makes him mature and sort of a gearhead all in the same. He's complicated that way because he still follows equipment like Charles Howell does, but he's just very, very finicky about what makes it in the bag. So I guess my question to you is like, in your new function, do you still find that you're still kind of helping him along with his bag? I mean, does he still lean on you for stuff? I mean, can you still kind of wear both hats with him?
Yeah, but I needed him to really buy in, because Zach Smith filled my old role and he's been working with Akshay enough, and I was a big fan, a big proponent of Zach coming in and joining our team, because I thought for players like Akshay he would be an excellent fit, and I knew that once Akshay team kind of bought into that they'd be off and running. And so it kind of gets a little too many cooks in the kitchen, if you get too many people like working with them. But I think that Akshay is really
speaking of gearheads.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's so funny. How much abuse did you take from us with Charles Howe, with you texting me, "Hey, can you order Charles this?" and then first survey comes out, where's this stuff that Charles ordered?
It's like, that's a whole podcast. Anyway, keep going. Yeah. That's a whole podcast.
Yeah, I love Charles Howe's one of the nicest.
I just love him. I can't. What are you gonna do? I love him. Yeah. He's a beautiful human. Yeah.
Jake, we gave Johnny so much crap because we're like, dude, you know how to use Engage? You order it, and he'd send us like, hey, can you send Charles all this stuff? And we'd be like, whatever. And then we're like, if it didn't go into play, oh man, Johnny would feel.
Oh, dude, he'd like hear it from
he's like that kind of guy.
I used to take a beating. I used to take a beating, but for the record, I did get some. Like, I got him in wedges. The TCBs.
You got him in wedges too. That was the first thing.
He played TCBs for like 6 months, so that was a big win.
Hey, that's huge.
But here's the problem with Charlie, and I love him. Like, he's like a brother. Like, I talk to the guy 4 times a week, but he is the ultimate, like, he'll call you and go, Parts, this driver, like, holy grail. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. I'm like, okay, great. Well, so we're good. We're good. Like, we're at stasis. This is amazing. Like 2 + 2 is 4 again. This is amazing. And sure as shit, he'll show up at a tournament and he's got his 440 LST in there. And he's like, and I'll say, bro, like I thought, and this is when I was still at Callaway, I'm like, dude, like I thought we were good. He's like, yeah, but it's just, it starts like a couple of feet too far right. And I'm like, what? What? We're not even splitting hairs anymore. We're splitting hairs at that point. It's like, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I do talk to Akshay some, like, and I'll call to check in just, more on a friendship level. And, a lot of times it leads into, some equipment stuff. And, a lot of times he'll ask me cause I putt with a long putter too. And so he'll ask me a lot of questions about putting with the broom. But that's, yeah, I was
going to say, you're on the right team. You can say broomstick without getting in trouble.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't realize that was the thing. I just learned that.
Yeah. What a world. Hey, okay, so we're gonna pivot to another left-hander who I know you worked with a lot. So you worked with Phil. Like when you were on like he was, between you and Garrett Pond, Garrett and Carlsbad and you out on tour. Talk to me a little bit, because I'm sure people want to know, like working with Phil. I've always found him to be pretty open-minded. Like he's, I don't know if he's a hard switcher, because I've never fit him. Obviously, it's not my job, but he seems to be pretty receptive. Like he wants to know. He's got a curiosity around equipment, which is kind of fun to talk to. But you've worked with him and got clubs in his bag. So like, what's that experience like?
Yeah. So obviously, when I went, so I worked on the LPGA in 2008, 2009, Korn Ferry 2010 or whatever it was called back then, and then I was the Odyssey rep for 5 years starting in 2011. So my first kind of intro to PGA Tour and Phil was more on the Odyssey side. And I had one really good thing working for me in my favor. Like I was starstruck with Phil. I loved, like, even before working for Callaway, I was the biggest Phil fan. And when I tell you the story, you'll understand why. But like, so Jimmy Mackay, Bones, his longtime caddy, is from my hometown. And when I was a kid, he was my babysitter. So I've known Jimmy literally my entire life. And so Jimmy was a high school golfer. My dad played on tour, and my dad took a liking to Jimmy. And so they played a lot of golf together out at the Muni. And then he became my babysitter. And so like fast forward through like Jimmy's like rise in the ranks through the caddy world. And so when he started caddying for Phil, like Phil became my favorite player because of Jimmy. So Jimmy always was so great to me. And he had Phil's ear. He's like, hey, if you need anything, like I trust this guy. Like I've known him my whole life. I've known his family. And, so that set it up to where there was a little bit less intimidation with Phil. But still, like, I mean, I had that classic, PM, like 8802 style. He brought it on, asked me to bend it on at the Masters, like one of the first years I was doing it. And, like a loft lie machine and like how you fit putters into a loft lie machine. Well, there's no scoop, there's no pocket on the back, and like there's only so many fixtures. And first time he asked me to bend it, and that thing is like it's not like a normal
soft
metal.
It's soft as shit.
No, it's hard.
His
no,
was
it's
hard.
like impossible.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Okay. Yeah, and it doesn't want to bend. And I was trying to get this thing in the fixture, and then put enough pressure, and it slipped out of the fixture that I had, and it scratched. It scratched it a decent amount, and I mean, I was mortified at having to.
Have you heard Joe's story of he broke one?
Yeah, he has he broke one.
It's like everybody has a story about bending Phil's damn putter. It's so funny to me that like it's a thing, right? Because those putters are notoriously
it had lead caked on the back too, so there was no way to get this thing in this fixture at the time. So anyways, I scratched a little bit, and I was like, man, I'm sorry. And he like looks, he's like, I don't even see it, whatever. And he was fine with it. So I'm like, oh, thank God. But one of my favorite Phil stories though, and I don't even know if Phil I don't think he even knows this story, but so this is going back, before being married in my single days. And, every now and then, out on the road, we could have some fun, and the nights could get a little bit long. And I could handle it as a younger man. Could not today, but back then, we were at Deutsche Bank in Boston, and me and some of my coworkers, we had a pretty late night and had a lot of fun that night. And the next day show up, and I have not slept very much at all, and wasn't feeling my best. And Jimmy calls me and he goes, "Hey, can you meet Phil on the putting green?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like no problem." Walk over, and he has a custom made left-handed saber-tooth belly putter in the back, and he's trying to like figure out how to use this belly putter, because at that time he was playing a ton of golf with Keegan. He had kind of taken Keegan under his arm, and Keegan, I built his original saber-tooth, and actually it's buried in other stuff, but I actually still have the grip. I changed the grip at Maui after he had won, the PGA Championship, and kind of like just took off. And I threw it in the garbage, and I was like, that's like history right there. That was the first belly putter to win a major. So I like took it.
Hang on to that one. Yeah,
that's sweet. Yeah,
if I can I'm gonna drop 100 things, but I'll pull it out and say. But anyways, so Phil's like, "Hey, like, tell me about this belly putter. Like, what do I do? Like, where do I put it in my stance?" And like Austie Rollinson had taken a saber tooth, one of the mid putters, and sliced the spud off. Re-welded it because that was a perfectly symmetrical head, and you could do that. And then he had inserts too with the insignia on the other side. So it was beautiful, custom left-handed belly putter. And he's asking me all these questions about how to use a belly putter. And I mean, I'm in the deepest of fogs mentally from my night out, and I had to suck it up and just try to like answer all these questions. And then finally we like finished up, and I was just like, "Oh my God, what just happened? Like, I cannot believe I just had to go through that." And it wasn't feeling 100%, but yeah, I was watching him try, and I think he used it that week and putted terrible. And luckily it was out of back, because he had no business using that. But I thought it was funny. That was like one of the deepest we've ever went into, like technique, like putting technique, and like disciplines on like ball position, stuff like that. It's the first time he's ever asked me like my opinions on that stuff, and it's the one night of that year that I probably had the longest night.
Your soul was not in your body.
No, I feel like that was God just like, "Hey, check yourself, bud." Like get it under control.
Do you know what's funny with Phil though? Like, what's funny with Phil is like, and I remember the first time I met him, I told that story already, but the first time you meet him, like, he's very intense. Like, when he's talking to you, if he's engaged on you, his eyes are on you. It's almost like a velociraptor. He's just like this.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember, and it was my first, like you, JT, like your last week was at Palm Beach. My first non-content shoot week was at Palm Beach. You were there that week. And I remember showing up. I'm like, okay, I don't have a content shoot. This is just me on tour on the job. So I show up at like 6:30 or whatever, on a Monday morning, and you guys were doing locker drop offs or whatever. And I kind of wander back to the truck at like 7:20. I was on the driving range or whatever, and I wander back, and there's nobody on the truck except for Phil. And he's back, and this is on the old truck. He's back on that top level bending clubs. And he had his sunglasses on. Like, it was the most awkward fucking thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I walk on the truck, and I go, "Oh God!" Like, and he's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey Phil, how's it going?" And he's just back there, just fucking wrenching on clubs or whatever. And I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that he just kind of took the liberties and kind of went and worked on his own stuff. So I remember kind of like awkwardly kind of backing out of the truck and like shutting the door really quietly, because I didn't know what to do. I'm like, this is day 3 on the job, like what that, and it's just Phil Mickelson at 7:20 it was still dark, with sunglasses on, betting his clubs. And I remember I turned around, and I think either Jacob or Joe walked up to me, and I looked like I just seen a ghost. They're like, "What's going on? You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Phil Mickelson's on the truck bending clubs by himself." And then like Joe's like, or I forget who it was. They're like, it's Monday. That's kind of what he does sometimes. And I was like, okay. And that was my first like I'm on the PGA Tour moment with Phil. Like, this guy's guy's just a whole nother vibration. Like this, the stuff that he does is very, very unique. So I know the relationship, and I used to love watching you two, and I still to this day. I love the relationship that you have with Emmy Grillo. I absolutely love the relationship that you have with Emmy because you guys are close. You guys talk, like you obviously have like a history together. So there's two things I want you to convey to the people that listen to the show. One is your relationship, like talk to me about your friendship with him and you know the level of work you guys have done in the past. But two, I want you to explain to people how good of a ball striker he is. Because I don't think people really truly understand. He is a ball striking savant. So if you can get into those two topics for me, I'd be very happy.
People ask, I get to ask that question a lot. Like who's the best ball striker? Like who would you want to strike it like out there? And I was like,
hit a shot for you.
Not even close. It's Grillo's iron swing. And he's a great driver of the golf ball too, but just the way he hits irons is incredible. The sound it makes, the flight, everything. But yeah, I mean, he came over, you know, he played on the DP, turned pro really young age, played DP, and then he got into the Corn Ferry playoffs, and then won the one in Jacksonville, and then won his first start in the fall at Napa. So he's like out of nowhere, he was just like off and running on the PGA Tour, and it was after that fall. He did not play Tampa in February, March, whenever that is. And I left early to go meet him in Sarasota when he was living there. And this is where I was like, I love this kid. He pulls up in a really nice BMW and takes off this really nice Rolex watch, puts it in his bag. And I looked at him, I go, dude, you have Mercedes on your left chest and you have Audemars Piguet on your right chest, and you just rolled up in a BMW and took off a Rolex. And I'm like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And he was just like, yeah. He was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. And from that point on, I was like, I love this kid. I just think he just does his own thing. We had a real similar taste in music, so we've gone to a ton of like reggae rock shows. He loves Soja, and we went to some Soja shows, and the Iratian guys like really liked them. And so we had like a commonality in music. And, I've played golf with them. If I'm on the road, I'm eating dinner with them at least once a week. We pretty much go to a sushi spot we can find out on the road. But yeah, like if I'm in town in San Diego, Emmy's always getting a phone call and we're trying to link up whenever I'm out there. I think the world of him. He's a good person. He's funny because Emmy's never been wrong. And so when you talk to him, if you start having a debate
let me tell you, hold, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. That's like his big thing. And you're like, oh, here comes some bullshit.
And I love it because I just almost I know he's going to disagree with me on everything I say, so I'll just make up stuff sometimes just to see where he'll take this. I want to see like where he'll go with this, and I'll be like something random. But yeah, I love him. You got to go ahead. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was going to say he hosted dinner for our Callaway team, and a lot of the people that are like behind the scenes that don't get a lot of the appreciation that they should back in Carlsbad. But he always hosted dinner during Torrey Pines week, where he brings in like this Argentinian chef, and we just have this like super nice like Argentinian dinner, and Tim Reed gets to pour in some really good wine that night. So it's a great night, and it's just like it's fun to always do that and kind of celebrate just like a great relationship that we have with one of our players. And Emmy's the best. Love him.
He is Tim Reed's like foster child. Like, so just for context for people out there that are listening, Emmy Grillo is the only PGA Tour player that I know of that has a ECPC employee card. So he
so does Xander. Xander and Emmy.
Oh, Xander does. But Xander doesn't ever use it. Emmy uses it. Like ECPC for Emmy is like, it's like practice area 1A. It's option 1A. Yeah. Like 1A is like too busy. He goes to the farms or wherever else. But I've been to ECPC obviously 1,000 times, but like 25% of the times I'll get there at 9 a.m. He's already back in the build shop just doing shit. Like, whatever he's I've seen him back there grinding wedges, putting iron sets together. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm trying this shaft.
As soon as he got that access, good luck to the guy trying to keep track of his specs. And that was me. And I mean, it was like, I'm like, dude, like he'd play something, and if it like I missed it during the week, and then saw the survey, and I'm like, what the hell is this wedge? And then go the next week, I'm like, what is this? And he's like, oh, I built that, I built that 2 weeks ago at the test center. I'm like, good grief.
Yeah, why are you playing a Great Big Bertha driver? Oh, I found it in the back closet over there at ECPC. I just put it together. It's like, what the hell's happening?
No, that I would not miss, but the wedges and irons, like sometimes he would do stuff like he'd build these like goofy like 50 and gap wedges and sand wedges, and I'd see on the survey, and I'm like, where the hell did you find this old head? And he's like, oh, it was in a drawer at the ECPC. I made it on Saturday, and like specs would be just goofy, and then I'd call him out on it. But of course he'd be like, oh no, I wanted it that way.
And the other thing for the folks at home, they're not open Saturday. So like this is him just doing stuff. Okay, I do want to talk a little bit about, just because we got about 5 minutes left. And thank you. This has been fun, dude. I'm actually kind of happy that you've just been kind of running with some of these questions and just going, because this is exactly kind of what I
feel like I didn't answer all of them though, so I apologize. I know you wanted some stories, and I got a little.
Well, we got them.
Yeah. But I do want to say one thing about Phil. I do want to touch one quick thing on Phil, because you did ask me what it was like, and I do want to say, when Phil and his coach Andrew Getson, and this goes back to Jimmy too. Jimmy called me. He's like, hey, it was at the Tour Championship. He's like, will you come help Phil with the driver, because he was struggling greatly. And that's when I really started to get to know Andrew Getson, his coach, and really started to understand the direction Andrew was taking Phil. And, for a long time, a lot of Phil's drivers had, a massive amount of weight internally, like forward and heel side, because he was so down and across it. And Andrew was trying to get him to not be so down and left, and kind of leveled and more down the line. And he was he'd hit some quack hooks, because, he had this driver that was set up to counter how much cut and spin. And so they were a little confused at times on, why this shot would creep in. And I know a lot of people think that it was Phil kind of had that wild like block cut that kind of scared, that was like his big miss, but it was the hook that he could not stand, and like that was the one that scared him, and it was the one that kind of created the high left miss more than anything. But working with Andrew, and this is where, like, as a rep, like, you work with the player to build their equipment, but the best work that we get done is when like the caddy and the coach and the player are all in the circle together and like working towards the same goal. And working with Andrew was awesome, and I love that guy. He's a great dude. He's been awesome for Phil, and I kind of stepped in at that time when Andrew came in, and we kind of started to neutralize his setups and kind of got away from the way forward, way hillside weighting. And it was a shock to his system at first, because when he got on the course, he'd revert back to a little bit down and right. And now he didn't have that little, that heavy weight forward and hillside to counter some of that, or, so he kind of had like a big left miss at times, but he was okay with it, because he knew that the way that the drivers are starting to get set up more neutral, it was going to allow the work that he and Andrew were doing to kind of get to the goal that they had. And, and it was a couple year process for him to really get comfortable. And I think the win at Kiowa was the perfect icing on the cake, because he drove it unbelievable there. And again, with a driver that was not manipulated to be, super draw bias, super low spin. He just got him to a place where he could be more neutral with his golf swing and required more neutral of a driver. And, but that working with Andrew was really beneficial for Phil kind of getting into a good place, in his 50s.
JT,
were you around, Johnny?
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, were you around, Johnny, for the switch to the wrist lock grip? Because it was an interesting installation as well at one point, because he played one like quite far up his forearm, but then he also played one more traditionally down by the wrist. Like, were you around for any of that conversation, or was that just like a Phil at home like found it thing?
Yeah, that was kind of after my Odyssey run, and then I can't remember what year he started to do that, but Yeah, I didn't have much to do with that.
JT, so, and you said something interesting when you were talking about Phil, and this is the last of the two questions we're going to ask you, but I hear, I saw this firsthand with you guys working, but like when you're talking about a miss, people will say like, I'm trying to eliminate a miss. I'm trying to eliminate this. And you said something really, really cool that I don't think a lot of people understand is the big miss is the reaction to the fear of the miss that they actually fear, right? So you said Phil is afraid of a cut and he hits it, wide right, or, a block.
Yeah,
In
he's afraid
reaction
of the
to
hook. Yeah, he's afraid of the hook,
so he blocks it
which
that way.
creates the high left when he gets a little off. Yeah.
So when you're fitting him in, when you're fitting players into a driver, you guys on tour fit to the miss that they're scared of. You're not fitting to the miss that they actually have, because the miss that they actually have is a reaction to fear of the actual miss. Is that am I saying that correctly? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you're getting there. It's just understanding each individual's golf swing, but then also if they work on it, if they're working with their coach, like if there's a goal, like they're working towards something, it's really, I mean, it's detrimental to the build to not, like, you have to know that information, because the last thing you want to do is have a driver set up one way that if they make the golf swing they're trying to make, it doesn't produce the shot they want to make. And so you end up with some like compensation issues there. But yeah, it's kind of understanding the end game of where they want to be. And yeah, like, you get somebody like Van Rooyen. He hates a right miss. So if you stand on the range, you give him a driver, he makes a bad swing and hits like a hook. He's like most people stand up and go, oh, okay, we got to change something. He's like, no. He'd be like, no, I love that. Like I can work with that. It's the one that like slides off the face and goes right that terrifies him. So it's kind of understanding, like how they want the ball to fly, what they're okay with, but then also know like where they're going with their golf swing. Like if you don't want to have something set up that makes it harder for them to get to where they're trying to go, because it does, in that setting, it might not produce the shot that they want to see once the golf swing gets to that point. So it's a dance, but I think it's a really easy dance if you're involved with the coach as well, because they're making changes that you need to be aware of.
Is some of that why we
they're
start
also
to see
part of the roadmap?
Is some of that is why we start to see tour heads too? Like, is that why like Triple Diamond S, Triple Diamond T, Triple Diamond TDLS that used to be a thing, Triple Diamond TD now? Like, is that part of that too? Like, it just gets to a certain point with some of those guys that you need to build them something that helps alleviate that for the fitters on tour.
Yeah, there's two reasons for why you see tour only heads. One is because it might actually benefit one or two, three guys on tour that most likely are not going to benefit anybody in the consumer world, generally speaking. So yes, like it's having them something that fits their shot shape. But then another thing to consider too is that just because we'll come out with a tour only head, well, that's our testing grounds. The tour golf is where we test product. And if that driver, say like we created the S head, if everybody played that S head, you can bet your bet next year's driver there's an S model that's going to retail. So it's kind of there's two reasons why we do it. It's for sometimes it's to provide a player with his best opportunity to play his best golf, but then also it's a great place to test new ideas, new shapes, something that we're not sure, is right for retail, but if, tour accepts it and it takes off and it's a great performer, then, the next year's driver, there might be that option in that line. Like Triple Diamond Max is a good example. Like that was just kind of a bit of a testing ground when we brought that out. And then it was a great driver for a lot of people. And we're like, hey, the consumers could benefit from this driver too. And so it got added into the line. And, like Triple Diamond, I remember when we came out with Triple Diamond, I think it was Epic Flash was the first year we had Triple Diamond, and it was leaps and bounds better than anything that we had at the time for tour golf. So, once everybody accepted that out there, and it was just obvious, like, oh, well, this is something that a lot of people will hit better, and then it was added to the lineup later. So, sometimes I know people get like frustrated when they find out there's like a tour only head, and it's not like we're trying to hide it from the consumer. We're just it's a testing ground. We're letting the best players in the world determine what our best product is, and if they all love it and they all hit it great and they all benefit from it, then more often
You'll
than
see
not,
it next year.
Next year.
Yeah, I remember Paradigm. We had the Paradigm like standard tour, for example, which was a Paradigm head with weight forward, and then if you saw AI Smoke, the core head, it had the same principles as the Paradigm standard tour. So like, you see like, I guess the third thing, just to end this topic, is sometimes in some cases some tour heads are out there, and JT, this is in a small way, but sometimes it's for non-staff, to attract some players that are typically, this type of a player, that are non-staff, to give them an option. So the thing that I loved about the Callaway truck is, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, any player on tour walks in to that truck has a driver somewhere on that truck for that player. Like their drawers covered everybody on tour, which it was very unique to that truck. It's just whether or not you got the guys in there to wander in there and play. Okay, so speaking of product for next year, so we can't talk about it. We're not going to tell you the name. We're not going to get into all that stuff. But I just got to ask you this, because I'm going to use this, hopefully, if you give me a good quote here. I'm really excited about what you guys are doing. Jake and I, we've all seen the story now. It's the first time in 5 years that I've seen the story fresh, like without seeing it. And I'd seen prototypes of the heads on the truck like in June or something, but I didn't I didn't know anything about them. I'm excited. I think the story's good. I think where the direction's amazing. I love that, I don't want to say going back to your roots, but I love that this is a very, very Callaway driver. You as a content creator now, and also somebody that's still involved in tour, how excited are you going into next year?
Yeah, I'm super stoked. We just had our tour meetings 3 weeks ago, and I got to actually play the finished product at La Costa. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously can't say too much about it. If I pan my camera over, there's a head sitting right here, but I'm not going to show you. Just tease you a little bit. This is going to be a huge year for us because as a marketing machine, a lot of time I think some people get kind of tired about the same, spewing out the same stuff. Oh, it's longer, it's straighter, and this is why. And I think this is going to be. I think this story and the results that it produces is going to be the most like aha moment for consumers, because they're gonna test it and they're gonna see it. The story's amazing. It's just a complete revamp on ball speed, and I don't think we're gonna struggle winning ball speed battles in the bays. I've hit it enough, and I've seen all the different models, and I think we're coming about as strong as. I can't think of another year going into it where I was like, no, like we are going to have a very good year with these woods. We've had a lot of good product over the years. Yeah, but it's sexy. It's a gorgeous looking head. The tech involved, which is it's a completely new thing for Callaway, and what it produces is straight up legit.
Yeah, I'd say the last time that I was like inspired by the story, truth be told, was Paradigm, because Paradigm was a completely new idea. It was like this new carbon chassis, and everything about it was different. And that was kind of the first real in earnest conversation about AI face. And there was a lot of widgets involved in the Paradigm story, and it was exciting. I remember that launch was just like, okay, like we got something cool here. Well, JT, I got to say this to button up the show, and I've told you this on the phone. This is going to sound weird. I'm very proud of the work you're doing. Like I couldn't have handed off the tour content job to anybody better. I can already, I told you this, like I want you to do 10x what I ever did there. So I'm really, really happy you're there. But I also love, like, to be honest, like the coolest thing with you is that you'll sit down with schmucks like us and give us an hour and tell some stories. And like I've always loved that about you, and I've seen you do it on the truck with players and people that come on the truck that don't know any better. They'll come on and you'll sit down with them for 20 minutes and tell them what's up. And That's a skill set very unique to you. So I appreciate everything you do for the consumer. Obviously, love you as a brother, but it was an honor having you on the show, pal. Like this was really, really cool, and I think I love that people are going to get a chance to know you a little bit better.
I appreciate you guys having me, and you know, I kind of echo a lot of the same sentiment to you guys. I mean, I think you guys do an amazing job for people at home to learn about equipment, not just Callaway. Like I love that, you know, you give everybody a fair shot. You give great reviews on product. You're both incredibly knowledgeable. Like you guys are doing great things. I'm a huge fan, and yeah, Johnny, just to cap it off, you're a great friend.
Well, I try to be sometimes, not always to Jake, but I am to JT. JT gets
whatever. JT is really nice to me though. I remember like this is a true story, right? Like I'm just gonna come in on the JT glazing here right now. Like if it wasn't like obviously I have a very close relationship with Joe Tuon, right? But if it wasn't for my building relationship with you over the last, let's call it 2 years, like I would not have been remotely as comfortable going to those tour events as I was, because it was such a comfortable place to go, right? Like Joe kind of catalyzed that for the truck as a whole, but like to be able to go and just chat with you or just like say what's up on the range or like bump elbows and get introduced to one guy randomly because you're out there, like it's just such a comforting feeling to like be out there and kind of feel like you got a little backup, you know, like if that makes sense. So no, it's fun to have you on. You know, the other Johnny kind of sucks a little bit, but you're great.
Jake, it's been a pleasure, buddy. And yeah, I figured if we put a $4,000 coffee machine on our truck, like
there you go.
People will show up.
It should be a nice place for people to come hang out, but you got to be nice too, or
I do.
Okay, I have the coffee.
I do have one story, Johnny, that I don't even know if you know this, because Johnny Thompson is not the kind of person to spread bad stories. I have to tell the story of me trying to do this wedge combine with JT at ECBC. I was not feeling it that day, and then I was like out of my mind. And then we went through like this incredible 20-minute session around the chipping green. That was awesome, like so good. I hit a couple shots that I was like, whoa, I didn't know I could hit that, but it was because Johnny was like, try this, like do this, make this happen. And I was like, I was feeling real good going into this hole. And then he's like, yeah, afterwards we just need like 40, 60, and 80-yard shots. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, whatever, like this has been great. Like we just had a banger 20 minutes. I tell you what, Johnny, I don't know. It had to have been what 20% of the balls were just absolute Hazel-shanks. Like, and Emmy was on the other side of the range. And I'm just like Emmy was out there and there was this girl there that was like an LPGA, like up and coming star or something. I don't know. And I'm just sitting there like looking at Johnny like, dude, like, I know that I'm not this big of an idiot on the golf course, but like, I don't know what's happening to my body right now. And then that was like right before Ram got there. So I'm like, okay, at some point we have to call this. Like we have to just clearly
that was a good test for me.
We also couldn't get the foresight to work, right? Like it was a disaster. But again,
we made the best out of it.
In Johnny Thompson.
We made the best out of it.
We tried. We tried.
I can't wait to start watching JT when you start doing what I was doing, which is doing 1v1 versus some of these guys. I was stupid enough to take on Rom and Burns, and I think I beat 2 people. I beat Matty Sagstrom in a challenge, and I beat up on Rojang in a challenge, and I got absolutely whacked by everybody else. And and I pray because he's the worst. If you have to do anything with Xander and you are not pristine in your technique and your execution, it doesn't stick needles in you. He puts like a razor blade spoon into your heart and just starts digging it out of you. Like I'm still to this day, I'll start talking about me playing golf and he'll go, did you do this? Did you top it? Did you top it with an 8-iron? Did you do this? Did you hit it thin? Did you blah, blah, blah? And I'm just like, okay, I quit.
Dude, Xander is brutal with the
he's brutal
with the jabs. He's an all-time world champion with the jabs.
But then in the same breath, if you talk about life with him, like, like he had a baby and I texted him like, hey dude, you're going to be a dad. This is a great thing. He's a very tender kid too at the same time. Like he's got 2 switches. He's got absolute elite asshole, and he's got like the nicest human being, soft spirit. like he's these two things over here.
That's
And
exactly how I
that's what
describe
makes him
you
so
when
great.
people ask me how my new job is.
So, like,
Yeah.
one more thing on Xander. I have to say, I remember his rookie year. He came on our truck to have his. It was when we had that Versa Big T, and he had that like number 5.
Yeah.
That he
Yeah.
played great in the fall. It was the first time he brought the truck on, or brought the putter on the truck to get like a loft fly check. Him and Kaiser run on there, and I had already talked to our manager at the time about Xander. I'm like, hey, dude, have you seen this guy hit golf shots? Like, this is the first time I got to see it was the fall. And I'm like, have you watched this dude hit balls? And then he played really good at Sanderson, I think. That was like his first few events. He played really good at Sanderson. I'm like, dude, this guy looks unbelievable. Like, unbelievable golf swing, strikes it so well. And so we kind of like had him on our map. And he came on the truck and asked for his putter to be loft and lied. And I start going in on him like, so you look good on this truck, bud. You know, like he's like, this looks like a good place for you to hang out a little bit more. And he was so uncomfortable, and it was hilarious because he was like, you know, that he has such a great smile, and he was like, oh, geez, he's like, come on, guys, we gotta get off here. This is feels weird. And I was like, dude, you look good on this truck a little bit more often. And so, anyways, like, you know, courtship and signed him, and then, you know, obviously he unbelievable rookie year, off and running, winning golf tournaments, and like. That guy that was on the truck that first time to get his loft fly, he's the exact same person today. Like when he comes, success has not changed him at all. And I've seen it to a fault for 15 years out there. Like people change with success, and he is still the exact same person. And I'm such a fan of him. He was a smart ass then. He's an even better smart ass now. Like to Johnny's story, like he's a great, but he is the exact same guy. He is so grounded, and he'll be a great dad because of it. Big fan.
Yeah, and if you meet his mother, you understand the human being part of Xander.
Yeah,
because she's got so much grace. She like levitates like across the planet, and then she's just like the most humble, graceful. And then you meet Ogre, and you're like, oh, okay, so I understand where this
here's where the smart ass
comes from. And then I understand where the smart ass. Like it's like a perfect hybrid of human beings. Anyway, this is we'll end there. This is Fully Equipped, episode 310, part 2, with the man we all love, Johnny Thompson of Callaway Golf Tour content manager. Thank you, Jake Morrow, for hopping on here with your travels. I know it wasn't the easiest thing, but thank you for doing that. JT, thank you for your time. We'll definitely have you back on, guys. JT, after all these things launch and all this stuff happens, probably in February or March. We'll bring you back on for another postmortem. I'm Johnny. That's Johnny. That's Jake. And we're out of here. Episode 310.
Later.